The twin moons of planet Nera 7 hung low in the sky, casting pale silver light over the sharp rocks and strange blue trees. The air was cool, and the wind made soft sounds like whispers passing through the leaves. It was a quiet planet, but it held secrets. A team of humans had landed here 2 weeks ago. Their goal was to explore the land, study the plants, and look for signs of ancient life. The leader of this group was Commander Jace Thorne, a calm and brave man with sharp eyes and a steady voice. He had led many missions before, but something about Nera 7 felt different. "Stay in the light zones," Jace often reminded his team. "We still don't know what's out there." What he didn't know was that something was watching them. From the hills above, hidden in shadow, an alien woman observed the humans closely. Her name was Lady Valara, a high-born vampire of the Niara race. Her skin was pale like moonlight, her eyes deep red like the planet's glowing flowers. Her people had lived underground for many years, feeding on energy and blood to survive. Valara had not seen a human before, but she had read the old scrolls. Humans were said to be weak, but full of rich energy, perfect for feeding. When she saw Jace leading the team, tall and fearless, she grew curious. He didn't act like prey. One night Jace was walking alone near the edge of camp, scanning the horizon. That's when it happened. A sudden wind blew, and from the shadows Valara appeared fast, silent like a ghost. Before Jace could react, she was behind him. Her sharp arms wrapped around him, and her fangs touched his neck. He struggled, but not for long. Her bite was clean, quick, but then nothing happened. Vela froze. She had done this 100 times before. Every time, the victim would grow weak, fall into sleep, or begin to change. But Jace just stood still. His eyes met hers, not in fear, but confusion. "What? What are you?" she whispered, stepping back. Jace touched the spot where she had bitten him. It wasn't bleeding. It wasn't even sore. "I was about to ask you the same thing," he said calmly. Valara stared at him, her mind spinning. This had never happened. She had drained warriors, leaders, even alien beasts, but this human was untouched. She turned and ran into the trees, her long cloak flowing behind her. She didn't look back. The next morning, Jace said nothing to his team. Checked his neck in the mirror, only to faint marks. He didn't know what that strange woman was, or what she wanted. But he could feel that she was still out there. And he wasn't scared. He was curious. Deep in the dark hills, Valara sat alone in her stone chamber. She lit a small fire and opened the oldest scroll she had. It told stories of ancient humans ones who had come long ago with machines and light. There was a name mentioned. Only once. The untouched ones. Beings who could not be changed by vampire power. No one believed they were real. But now Valara wasn't sure. He felt nothing, she whispered to herself. Not even pain. The first time in many years she didn't feel like a predator. She felt puzzled. Who was this man named? Jace Thorne? That night, she returned to the human camp, not to bite him again, but to watch. Hidden in the shadows, she saw how he moved. How the others respected him. How he looked up at the stars like someone searching for something bigger. And strangely, he looked up, right at her hiding place, as if he knew she was there. Over the next few days, Valara stayed close. She didn't know why, but she couldn't stop thinking about him. She had bitten humans before, but none had ever made her feel like this. There was something in his eyes that didn't match the fear she usually saw. There was strength, but also kindness. She began to wonder. Could it be that this human wasn't like the others? Was there something inside him that made him different? She would find out. Meanwhile, Jace started to feel like he was being watched. But not by something evil, by something curious. Each time he looked into the trees, he saw only wind and shadows, but he could feel it. A presence at night. He dreamed of red eyes and silver skin. He didn't know her name yet, but soon he would. Lady Valara stood on a cliff above the human camp. Cold wind brushed her long hair, but she didn't move. Her red eyes watched one person, only Commander Jace Thorne. Every night since the bite, she had come here. She stayed hidden in the shadows. but he always seemed to feel her. Sometimes he would stop and look toward her direction, even though he couldn't see her. She had lived over 200 years. In all that time, she had never felt this confused. No vampire had ever bitten someone and failed to drain them, and no human had ever met her gaze with such calmness. It made her wonder, who is this man really? Valera left the cliff and walked back to her home deep inside the hills. The underground city of the Nera vampires was dark and silent. The air was filled with the soft hum of ancient power. Stone towers curved like bones, and lights glowed softly along the walls. This place had been untouched by time, but her mind was not calm. She entered the Hall of Records, a silent chamber where old scrolls and crystal tablets were kept. The room smelled of dust and memory. She picked up one of the oldest scrolls written. In the forgotten language of her ancestors, her eyes scanned the pages until she found a word that made her stop. Iron-blooded. The scroll told of a rare kind of being, one who could not be turned, bitten, or changed by vampiric touch. These humans were said to carry something different in their blood. They were not immune because of strength, but because of what was. Sleeping inside them, a protector, sleeping in his veins. She whispered, could Jace be one of them? She needed answers. Back at the camp, Jace sat in his tent, looking over a map. But his mind wasn't on the mission. He kept thinking about Hertha's strange, silent woman who had bitten him. She hadn't come close since that night. But he felt her watching. He didn't feel fear. He felt pulled. Jace wasn't a scientist, but he had enough training to know something was odd. He felt more aware since the bite. Sounds were sharper. His body healed faster. His sleep was deeper. Something was happening, but it wasn't dangerous. It felt natural. He needed to find her again. He needed to understand. The next night, Jace walked alone into the forest. He didn't carry a weapon, just a small light. He spoke softly to the air, hoping she would hear. I know you're there, he said. You've been watching me. Number answer, he stepped forward. You bit me, but I'm still me. So why are you hiding? From behind a tree, a soft voice answered, because I do not understand you. He turned, and there she was. Her silver hair shimmered in the moonlight. Her eyes glowed red, but her face was not cold. It was full of questions. I've waited to see you again, Jace said. Valara stepped out slowly. You should fear. Me, human. Maybe, Jace said, but I don't. They stood there for a long time, the forest quiet around them. Two beings from different worlds, staring at each other with calm honesty. Tell me what happened, she asked. Didn't you change? I don't know, he said. I was hoping you could tell me. Later that night, Valara brought him to a hidden chamber in the hills. It was small, with stone walls and a table made from black crystal. A few strange devices sat on shelves, tools her people had used long ago. I want to take a drop of your blood, she said carefully, to study it. Jace nodded. Do it. She pricked his finger with a crystal needle. A single drop of red fell onto a glowing stone. The device immed. As the blood touched the crystal, strange patterns appeared. Lines of energy moved like a map. Valara stared. This is not normal human blood, she said. There's something inside it. What is it? She leaned closer. Tiny machines, very old. They sleep inside you. But they woke when I bit you. They stopped my power. They healed the wound. And they're evolving. Jace frowned. Machines? In my blood? Valara nodded. Your ancestors must have put them there, maybe to protect against creatures like me. So I'm immune, he asked. Yes, and maybe something more. As they left the chamber, Jace looked at her. Why are you helping me? Valara paused. Because you are not like others. You're not cruel. You didn't try to hurt me. And you didn't run away when you saw me. You stayed. I smiled softly. Maybe I wanted to understand you too. For a moment, they stood close. Not as hunter and prey, but as two beings curious about each other. The air between them felt warm, peaceful, but far away. In the deeper shadows of the Nera caves, other eyes were watching, dark, angry, eyes in the city below, the Vampire Council had learned of Valara's strange behavior. One of their guards had followed her and seen her with the human. She protects him, the guard reported. She studies him. She lets him live. The oldest vampire, Lord Seven, narrowed his eyes. She broke the rule, he said. No. Human shall be spared. If she has joined them, then she is one of them. He stood. His voice echoed through the stone hall. Bring her to me, and bring the human, too dead or alive. A quiet breeze moved through the forest trees as Valara and Jace stood together near the hidden chamber. Neither of them spoke for a while. Their thoughts were heavy. They had just discovered something strange and powerful, tiny machines sleeping inside Jace's blood, machines that had woken when she bit him. Are they dangerous? Jace finally asked. Valara shook her head slowly. Not to you. They protect you. That's their purpose. They are old. Maybe older than my people. Jace looked at his hand. The place where she had drawn blood was already healed, without even a mark. You think the first human explorers made these? Yes, she replied. And they placed them inside their bloodlines. But over the centuries, the knowledge was lost. You were one of the few left. Jace gave a short laugh. So I'm carrying something in me that even I didn't know about? Valara stepped closer. Something that might change everything. Back in the vampire city, deep underground, the council had gathered. Cold eyes, sharp teeth, and robes made of dark silk filled the round stone chamber. At the center stood Lord Seven, tall and thin, with skin as pale as snow. His voice was slow, but strong. Lady Valara has broken our ancient rule. She protects a human. She drinks no blood. She searches scrolls, long forgotten. This cannot be ignored. The others nodded. She has always been proud, one said. Now she is a traitor, said another. Seven raised his hand. Send trackers, bring her back, and kill the human. If he is what the stories say, we must not allow him to awaken. Far from the council, Valara and Jace sat inside the stone chamber, looking at the blood-reading device. Strange symbols continued to glow. There's more, Valara whispered. The machines. They're not just protecting you. They're learning, changing, and they are waking something deep inside you. Jace looked confused. Waking what? To face him? Dreams? Visions? He nodded slowly. Yes, since the bite. I've seen places I've never been. A city in the stars, a voice calling me untouched. It feels ancient. Valara stepped back, shocked. Then it's true. The machines are opening memories. Passed down from long ago? Jace felt a chill. Memories from who? From the first ones. The ones who came before both our kinds. Valara walked to the back wall and pressed a hidden stone. A low rumble echoed, and the wall opened into a narrow passage. There is something you must see. She said they walked deep into the hills, into a long-forgotten ruin. It was made of both stone and strange metal, covered in dust and vines. Jace held a light, and his eyes widened. This place is human. Not just human, Valara said. It was built by humans and vampires together. Long ago, she touched a wall, and lights slowly flickered to life. Old screens showed faded images, figures standing side by side, human and a vampire, peaceful, united. There was a time, she said softly, when our kinds were allies. We built this world together. We shared knowledge and power. But then something happened. Fear grew. My people hid below. Yours left. Jace stepped forward, his heart beating faster. He felt something in his chest, pulse, as if the place recognized him. Why are you showing me this? Valara looked at him with calm eyes. It's because you carry their legacy. You are not just a man, Jace. You are a bridge between the past and the future. Suddenly, a sharp sound broke the silence. A voice echoed from outside. Valara, come out. She froze. The council, she said. They found us. Ow. Jace grabbed her arm. We can't fight them all. We don't have to, she said. There's another way out. She led him through a hidden door into a tunnel lit with pale blue lights. Behind them, shadows moved. Voices called. Footsteps followed. As they ran, Valara spoke quickly. There's something more. At the heart of this ruin is a Kora source of energy. The legends say it can unlock the full power of the Iron-Blooded. Jace blinked. Me. She nodded. But it must be awakened with your will, not your strength. As they reached a large chamber, Jace saw a platform surrounded by glowing rings. In the center was a stone pillar with strange markings. This. Is it? Valara said. Place your hand here, Jace hesitated, then slowly placed his palm on the stone. The rings lit up. Energy surged through the room. Light danced across the walls. The machines inside Jace began to pulse faster. His eyes widened as his mind filled with images: stars, battles, peace, war, hope. His knees shook, but he didn't fall. He stood tall. Valara watched in awe. It's working. You're awakening. Suddenly the door behind them burst open. 3 vampire trackers entered, their faces cold and ready to strike. There he is. One shouted, "End him." But Jace didn't step back. He turned slowly, and his voice echoed stronger than before. No. A wave of energy burst out from the pillar, throwing the trackers back without a touch. The room shook. The stone glowed. Brighter. The machines in Jace's blood had fully activated. The vampires lay still, shocked and afraid. Valara stepped beside him. They'll come again, in greater numbers. Jace looked at her. Then we'll be ready. They escaped back. To the surface, under the light of the twin moons. The world looked different now. I'm not the same anymore, Jace said. No, Valara replied. You're more. You are the first of a new beginning. Jace looked at the stars above. Maybe, just maybe, peace between their kinds wasn't a dream. Maybe it had already begun. The sky above Nira 7 was dark, with thick clouds hiding the moons. The air felt heavy. A storm was coming, not one made of wind or rain, but of fear and war. Valara stood on the edge of a high ridge, her cloak moving in the breeze. Below her, in a hidden valley, lay the old ruins where Jace had awakened the ancient core. That place had changed everything. The machines in his blood were now fully active, giving him strange strength, deeper senses, and a quiet power she had never seen in any human before, but they had no time to enjoy peace. The Vampire Council had sent a message: Valara is a traitor. Jace Thorn must be destroyed. Now they were being hunted. Inside the valley cave, Jace packed supplies quietly. His face was calm, but his eyes showed deep thought. Ever since he touched the core, he could feel the world around him more clearly: the wind, the ground, even Valara's heartbeat. It was like he was part of the planet itself. He turned as Valara entered. They'll come soon, she said. We must move. Jace nodded. Where will we go? There's one place left, she replied. The crystal caves of Arhalan. No one dares go there, not even the council. Why? He asked. Because something sleeps inside, something even they fear. They traveled by night, crossing rocky hills and quiet rivers. The land was beautiful, but strange. Jace noticed plants opening and closing like they were watching him. Animals didn't run away when he walked past. Even the ground felt warmer. Under his feet, everything is different, he said. Valara nodded. The planet knows you now. It remembers your kind. Looked at her and you. She paused, then said softly, I remember who I used to be. Before fear ruled us. For a moment, they walked in silence. Two people from different worlds, slowly trusting each other. But peace never lasted long. On the fourth night, just before reaching the caves, they were attacked. 5 dark figures appeared from the tree's vampire soldiers, fast and silent. Their eyes glowed like fire. They moved quickly, surrounding Jace and Valara. By order of Lord Sivan, one shouted, surrender now. Leilata stepped in front of Jace. You will not harm him. You betrayed your kind. The soldiers shouted back. Before anyone could move, one of them rushed forward. Jace raised his hand not in fear, but with calm focus. A pulse of blue light burst from his palm, striking the attacker and sending him flying into a tree. The others paused, shocked. "What is he?" One whispered, "A mistake." Another said, "Fall back." They vanished into the trees, but not before warning. "The council will send more. You cannot hide." Valara looked at Jace. "You didn't even touch him. I didn't try." "Two," he said, still surprised himself. "It just happened." "The core is still growing inside you," she said. "Your power is not complete." They hurried toward the crystal caves, finally reaching the entrance before sunrise. The opening was wide and dark, shaped like a mouth frozen in stone. Inside, soft blue light glowed from walls made of glass-like crystals. "This place," Valara whispered, "is older than all our cities. Some say it was made by the first humans, others say it grew on its own." They stepped inside. The walls sparkled. Sounds echoed strangely. The deeper they went, the quieter everything became, like the cave was listening as they reached the main chamber. A large dome-shaped space with crystals pointing in all directions. Jace suddenly stopped. "What is it?" Valara asked. "I hear something," he said slowly. "A voice, not with my ears, but in my mind." He walked toward the center and placed his hand on a crystal. The cave glowed brighter suddenly. A vision filled the air, a memory trapped in the stone. It showed humans and vampires standing together, building the very cities that were now lost. They worked side by side, smiled, and shared ideas. There was no war, no fear. Then came the darkness. A shadow appeared, a great misunderstanding caused by fear of blood and power. Trust was broken. The two sides split apart. The alliance ended. The memory faded. Jace turned to Valara. "They forgot who we were." "Yes," she said, her voice shaking. "We were never meant to be enemies." At that moment, a deep voice echoed through the cave. "So, the untouched one returns." Jace and Valara spun around. From the shadows stepped an ancient vampire, taller and older than any Jace had seen. His eyes were pure white, and his robe was made from faded silver. "I am Euron, guardian of this place," he said. "I've waited centuries for your kind to return." "You knew about me?" Jace asked. "I knew you would come," Euron replied. "The blood you carry? It is the key to healing this world." Valara stepped forward. "But the council wants war. They want control," Euron said. "But you both of you can offer a choice." Jace looked unsure. "How?" "By standing before them not as enemies, but as hope. Show them what they've forgotten." Later that night, as they rested inside the glowing cave, Jace sat beside. "Valara, if we go back, they might kill us." "Yes," she said. "But if we don't, they'll kill others." He looked into her eyes. "You once said I was more than human, but I think you are more than vampire." She smiled softly. "And maybe together we can remind them what we all used to be." He nodded. "Let's go back, not to fight, but to finish this." Outside, the clouds parted for the first time in days, and for the first time in centuries. The crystal caves of Nira 7 glowed not from fear, but from hope. The path back to the vampire city was cold and silent. Jace Thorne walked beside Valara, his steps firm but his mind heavy. Behind them, the soft glow of the crystal caves of Arhallan faded into the distance. Everything had changed since Jace awakened the ancient core. The tiny machines inside his blood had come alive, giving him strength, awareness, and visions. The cave had shown him what once was peace between humans and vampires, and now he was ready to face the council not with war, but with truth. Valara glanced at him. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Jace nodded. "Yes. If we don't try, then nothing changes. But if we do, maybe we can end this fear." The vampire city of Varneth lay deep underground, hidden by stone and shadows. Its towers stretched like dark roots, and its streets echoed with quiet footsteps. The people of the city had heard whispers. "Valara has returned. She walks with the human. They say he is untouched. A danger." But they also watched from windows and corners. Their eyes were not only full of fear but of curiosity. The council had told them stories for years. But now, someone had come to challenge those stories. At the council hall, Lord Stephen stood with his back to the entrance. He stared at a long stone table where ancient laws were carved. A guard entered quickly. "My lord, they are here." Seven turned slowly. "Good." He walked to the center of the hall where the other council members waited. Cold faces, sharp eyes, not one smile. As the large doors opened, Jace and Valara stepped inside. Gasps filled the room. Valara stood tall, her face calm. "I have returned. Not to kneel, not to run, but to speak." Kevin's voice was like ice. "You broke our oldest law. You protected a human. Worse, you brought him here." "He is not just a human," Valara said. "He carries the legacy of both our kinds. And I believe he carries the answer." Jace stepped forward. "I don't come with weapons. I come with truth." The room grew quiet. Jace took a breath and spoke clearly. "You fear me because your bite didn't work on me. But I'm not your enemy. My blood holds something old machines left by the first humans, but they're not for war. They were made to protect." He raised his hand. A soft light glowed from his palm. "Inside me are memories, visions, proof that your people and mine once stood together. You weren't monsters. You were builders, dreamers." Kevin's eyes narrowed. "Words are weak. Where is your proof?" Jay stepped into the center of the hall and touched the old stone table. A soft hum filled the room, symbols carved. Into the table began to glow. From the stone rose a holographic image, a recording from long ago. It showed a human and a vampire standing side by side, building a great tower. Children from both races playing together. Leaders shaking hands. A planet full of light and unity. The room was silent. Many council members looked shocked. Few looked away. Valara spoke again. "This is your true history.
The story hidden.
From you, the fear you've lived in was built on lies." Steven stepped forward, angry. "Even if that is troop, is weakness. We are strong because we control. We survive because we feed." Jace looked at him calmly. "And what has that given you? Loneliness? War? Fear?" He turned to the others. "You hide underground while the world above changes. You fear humans, but you never tried to understand them." One elder, a woman with silver eyes, stood slowly. "What do you offer, human?" "Not control," Jay said. "Not war. Offer a chance to remember who you really are. A chance to rebuild what was lost." Suddenly, the ground shook. A loud boom echoed through the chamber. A guard rushed in. "Bleeding. We're under attack." "By who?" Valara asked. "Not humans. Rogue vampires. Those who follow Kevin's secret army? They refuse peace. They want blood." Savin didn't speak. He turned away slowly. Jace stared at him. "You planned this." "You were never going to listen," Velaros said sharply. "You wanted to. Silence us." Salvin gave a cold smile. "Hope is a poison. I'd rather burn the truth than share it." He turned and vanished into a hidden passage. Outside, fire had reached the outer walls of the vampire city. Dark-cloaked soldiers ran through the streets, striking anyone who stood in their way. Civilians screamed, some fled, some fought back. Jace looked at Valara. "We have to help them." She nodded. "Come. This is our moment." As they rushed outside, Jace raised both hands. Blue energy glowed from his body. A wave of light spread across the city, creating a shield that blocked the invaders' path. People looked up, wide-eyed. "He's protecting us. Is he the one from the old tales?" Lara moved with speed and strength, disarming the rogue. "Soldiers without killing them," she called to her people. "This is not the way. You are more than this." Some stopped fighting. Some dropped their weapons. The old energy inside the city responded to Jace's presence. Ancient lights lit up. Buildings hummed with power. It was as if the planet itself was waking. After hours of battle, the invaders were pushed back. The city stood but barely. In the quiet that followed, Jace stood among the people, tired but calm. Valara stood beside him, her arms slightly burned, but her eyes full of strength. One of the council members stepped forward. Broken. But the truth stands, another elder said softly. What shall we call this new path? Jace looked at the rising light behind them. Not a kingdom, not a rule, just a start, a chance to live side by side, Lara added. Let the past be our teacher, not our chain. The crowd nodded, and for the first time in generations, vampires and humans stood together in peace. The city of Varnith was quiet after the battle. The fires were out, the broken stones were being cleared, and the wounded were resting. For the first time in many years, vampires and humans walked together in the same place, not as enemies, but as survivors. High above, soft light from the world's twin moons poured through the cracks in the stone ceiling. It touched everything with a gentle glow, as if even the sky had chosen peace. Jace Thorne stood near the old stone table in the council hall. His clothes were torn, his hands covered in dust, but his eyes were clear. The ancient machines inside, his blood had changed him, but they hadn't taken away who he was. They had simply helped him remember. Valara stood at his side. Her once feared face was now known across the city as a symbol of hope. People no longer whispered about her in fear. They looked at her with respect. We did it, Jace said softly. Valara nodded. No, you did it? You reminded them of the truth? He shook his head. We reminded them. I couldn't have done it without you. The council had been changed forever. Many of the old leaders had stepped down after the truth was revealed. A few disappeared into the shadows, refusing to accept peace. But new voices rose, young ones, open to change, willing to learn from both the past and the present. One of them, an elder vampire named Celian, spoke to the people in the city square. For too long we lived in fear, forgot who we were. We called humans weak. But now, one human has reminded us that strength is not in blood, but in truth, unity, and choice. Cheers echoed through the city. Children came forward, both vampire and human, to light the flame of remembrance, a fire that had not burned in hundreds of years. It was once a sign of peace. Now it burned again. Later, Jace and Valara walked. Through the upper tunnels, the light above was brighter now. The walls that once separated vampire and human zones were gone. Food was shared. Songs were heard. People began to dream again. Still, Jace knew this was only the beginning. There are still those out there, he said. People like Steven. People who don't want peace. Valara nodded. Yes, not everyone will accept change. But if we stand firm, they'll lose their power. He stopped near a quiet stream inside the tunnel. Its waters glowed a soft blue. You know, he said, I came here thinking I'd just explore a planet. I didn't know I'd be this. Valara smiled. I didn't know I'd ever trust a human, or walk beside one, or fight to protect one. They both laughed softly. Then she looked at him seriously. You are not just a visitor anymore. Jace, you carry something important. You carry both history and future. The machines in your blood, the energy inside you, it's part of this world now. Jace looked into the water, then back at her. And what about you? He asked. Where do you go from here? Valara looked up at the moonlight. With you. Over the next weeks they worked together to build a new alliance, a council made of both humans and vampires. They opened the ruins from the ancient days and found lost knowledge, healing tools and forgotten messages from the first settlers. Jace sent a message back to the human colonies in space, explaining what had happened on Nera 7. His report was filled with truth, but also hope. He invited scientists, historians, and peacekeepers to visit and learn. Most of all, he told them, we were wrong about vampires. They are not our enemies. They are our lost brothers and sisters. Back on Earth, many were surprised, but some listened. One evening, while walking near the hill where they first met, Valara stopped. This is where I bit you, she said. Jace chuckled. Yeah, I remember. I thought I would change you, but you changed me instead. He looked at her gently. Maybe we changed each other. She reached out and took his hand. I used to believe vampires were meant to rule alone. But now, I see. We were never meant to be alone at all. Jace smiled. And I used to think humans were just explorers. But now, I know we're also bridges. We connect. Time passed. A year later, the vampire city was full of life. Children of mixed heritage began to appear, some human, some vampire, some both. A new kind of bloodline had started. These children had strong minds, warm hearts, and the ability to walk in light and shadow alike. They were known as the Harmony Born. The fear of the past slowly faded.
The stories of the war were still told, but
Not to create anger, they were shared to teach, to remind, to guide. In a peaceful garden near the Crystal Caves, an old monument was raised. It showed two figures, one human, one vampire, standing together. Below it was written, "We remembered what was forgotten, and we chose to hope again." And Velara often visited that place, not as heroes, but as reminders of what courage, truth, and unity could build. And sometimes when the wind passed through the trees and the moons rose high in the sky, the people of Nira 7 would say, "There was once a vampire woman who bit a human, but instead of darkness, she found light."